Every time you open your mouth to make an excuse, you're giving away a piece of your power. You strain, your energy sustained. That's the truth most people don't want to hear. When you wake up and say, I'm tired, it's too early, it's too hard, you're already setting the tone for the day. You've given your energy away before you've even taken your first step. Excuses are like leaks in a fuel tank. You may have the potential to go far, but you'll never reach your destination because all your drive seeps out before you even hit the road. The ones who win in life are not the ones who have it easy. They are the ones who know how to protect and use their energy wisely. Every excuse you make might feel harmless in the moment, but it slowly chips away at your focus, your belief, and your momentum. You tell yourself you'll go to the gym tomorrow, that you'll start the business next week, that you'll call that person later. And before you know it, later becomes never. Excuses give you temporary comfort, but they rob you of permanent growth. They are like invisible chains that hold you back while convincing you that you're still free. But energy, pure, focused, disciplined energy, breaks those chains every single time. When you replace excuses with effort, something shifts inside you. You stop reacting to life and start creating it. Think about it. Every great success story you've ever heard started with someone who had every reason to quit. They had excuses lined up just like everyone else. No money, no support, no connections, no perfect timing. But instead of feeding those excuses, they fed their energy. They put in the hours, they showed up early, they stayed late, and they pushed through pain and doubt. That's what energy looks like. It's not hype, it's hunger. It's the fuel that keeps you going when everything around you says stop. When you choose energy over excuses, you stop waiting for conditions to be right. You move, you act, you build. And because of that, life starts responding to you. Excuses are rooted in fear. They're the mind's way of protecting you from discomfort and failure. But here's the secret. Failure doesn't kill you. Complacency does. Every time you use an excuse, you protect your comfort zone, but you kill your potential. Energy, on the other hand, comes from purpose. When you know why you're doing something, you can find the strength to do it even when it's hard. Energy doesn't mean you're never tired. It means your purpose is stronger than your tiredness. People who rely on excuses are led by their feelings. People who rely on energy are led by their mission. Well, one group says, I don't feel like it, and stays stuck. The other says, I'll do it anyway, and moves forward. Energy is contagious. When you walk into a room full of people, they can feel whether you're full of life or full of complaints. Your energy inspires others to rise higher or gives them permission to stay average. When you come with excuses, you lower not just your own standard, but the standard of everyone watching you. But when you bring energy, when you bring passion, belief, and effort, you ignite something in others. You remind them what's possible. You lead by example, even if you don't realize it. That's why it's so important to guard your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. Every day you're in a battle between two voices. One says you deserve a break, and the other says you've got work to do. The excuse voice sounds comforting, but it keeps you in the same place. The energy voice sounds demanding, but it takes you somewhere new. The problem is most people listen to the wrong voice. They think energy comes from motivation, from waiting for the right moment, from feeling ready, but energy actually comes from action. The moment you start moving, your body and mind begin to generate momentum. The hardest part is not the work itself. It's starting. Once you start, energy takes over. But if you let excuses make the decisions, you'll never experience that power. Excuses drain your energy because they focus on problems, not possibility. They keep your attention on what you don't have instead of what you can do. Energy, however, thrives on prize. Every small step, every little win, every ounce of effort creates energy. You don't need massive leaps to change your life. You need consistent movement. When you choose to give your best instead of your excuse, you create a ripple effect. You feel more confident, more capable, and more alive. And the more you act from that energy, the more life gives back to you. You got to stop treating excuses like friends. They don't protect you, they poison you. They make you feel justified in staying the same while your goals slip further away. Start catching yourself in the act. When that little voice starts whispering reasons why you can't, immediately respond with energy. Take a step, make a call, move your body, Do something. Energy is a decision, not a feeling. Most people wait around for motivation to hit them like lightning before they start moving. They say, I'll do it when I feel ready, or I'll start when I feel inspired. But the truth is, you may never feel ready. You may never feel ready. You may never feel like doing it. Energy doesn't come from waiting. It comes from choosing. Every morning, you have the same choice: to move with purpose or to drift through the day reacting to whatever comes your way. People who achieve great things in life are not superhuman. They're simply people who decide to bring energy no matter how they feel. When you wake up, your body might feel tired. Your mind might be cluttered. And your circumstances might not be perfect. But your decision to bring energy overrides all that. It's not about ignoring your reality. It's about deciding that your reality won't control your response. You can't wait for the conditions to be right, because conditions will never be perfect. Life will always test you. Some days you'll be strong, other days you'll be weak. But when you decide that energy is your standard, not your mood, you start moving differently. You stop depending on how you feel and start depending on your purpose. Look at the greatest performers in any field: athletes, speakers, entrepreneurs, artists. They don't wake up every day filled with excitement and endless enthusiasm. They wake up and make a decision to show up with energy. That's why they're consistent. They understand that feelings are temporary, but decisions are powerful. Feelings fluctuate with sleep, stress, or weather, but a decision rooted in commitment doesn't waver. When you've already decided that nothing will stop you, feelings lose their control over you. You still feel tired, frustrated, or doubtful, but you act anyway. That's what separates those who grow from those who stay the same. Energy as a decision means you choose to act before you feel like acting. You create momentum instead of waiting for it. When you take the first step, no matter how small, your brain and body begin to respond. The motion itself generates energy. The more you do, the more alive you feel. That's why people who start their mornings with purpose, working out, journaling, reading, praying, walk into the day with power. They don't wait for energy. They generate it. Meanwhile, those who keep saying a later keep losing momentum. Every later is a missed opportunity to build strength. You can't think your way into energy. You have to act your way into it. If you wait for inspiration, you'll always be at the mercy of your emotion. One day you'll feel motivated and you'll go all in. The next day you won't, and everything stops. That kind of inconsistency kills progress. But when you decide that energy is who you are, not how you feel, you break free from that cycle. You stop asking, or do I feel like it? And start saying, it's time to move. The act of deciding brings clarity, and clarity creates focus, and focus builds energy. Choosing energy also means rejecting negativity. You can't expect to feel powerful if you're surrounded by people and thoughts that drain. Every complaint, every doubt, every excuse you entertain steals your energy. The more you talk about what's wrong, the less power you have to change it. But when you decide to bring positive energy, to look for solutions, to speak with purpose, to move with conviction, you begin to take control of your internal environment. Energy doesn't just stay inside you, it affects everyone around you. When you walk into a room with confidence and light, people feel it. And that energy comes back to you tenfold. Some people think energy is about hype, jumping around or being loud. It's not. Real and is discipline. It's the quiet, steady force that pushes you to keep going when the excitement fades. It's the decision to keep showing up when no one's watching. Energy is staying committed on day 100, the same way you were on day 1. It's being focused when distractions try to pull you away. It's not emotional, it's intentional. It's what you decide to give to the world, not what you happen to feel at the moment. When life hits you with setbacks, that's when the decision truly matters. Anyone can have energy when things are easy. But what happens when you lose a job, when your plans fall apart, when people doubt you, when the results don't come? That's where most people shut down, because their energy was built on emotion, not decision. But if you've already decided that your energy isn't negotiable, you keep moving. You don't have to like the pain, but you don't let it stop you. You use it. You turn frustration into fuel. You turn obstacles into opportunities, That's the mindset of someone who understands that energy is a choice, not a reaction. There will always be reasons to slow down, to procrastinate, to quit. Papa, Life will always give you an excuse to stop, but every excuse is just a test asking, winners outwork excuses. That's the truth most people avoid because it exposes what separates dreamers from doers. Everyone wants success. Everyone talks about their goals, but very few are willing to put in the kind of work that leaves no room for excuses. Winners understand something simple but powerful. You can't talk your way into success. You gotta grind your way into it. Excuses are comfortable. They make you feel justified for staying the same. But winners are allergic to excuses. They know every excuse is just a soft lie that protects weakness, and they refuse to live that way. When life throws obstacles at them, they don't ask, why me? They ask, how can I use this? They don't waste energy blaming circumstances, people, or timing. They focus on what they can control, and that's their effort. Winners have the same 24 hours as everyone else, but they spend them differently. While others are sleeping in, they're up early. While others are scrolling and complaining, they're learning, training, improving. They built a habit of showing up even when they don't feel like it. Their secret isn't talent, it's discipline. Excuses say it's too hard. Winners say, let's get harder. Excuses say, I don't have time. Winners make time. They don't wait for opportunities, they create them through consistent action. Where outworking excuses means you refuse to let circumstances dictate your effort. You might not have the best resources, but you still have your grind. You might not have support, but you still have your commitment. You might not be the most talented, but you can always be the most consistent. Winners don't make excuses because they've realized excuses don't change anything. Complaining doesn't move the needle, only action does. You can spend your time explaining why you can't, or spend that same time proving that you can. One builds comfort, the other builds character. Every time you choose to work instead of whine, you build mental strength. Every time you push through resistance, you grow tougher. Excuses weaken you, but effort builds you. It's like a muscle. The more you exercise discipline, the stronger it becomes. People who rely on excuses are stuck because they never give themselves a chance to experience their true potential. They stop when it hurts. Winners push when it hurts. Winners push when it hurts. They understand that pain is part of the process, not a signal to quit. You can't reach the next level without discomfort. Every rep, every failure, every long night is shaping you into someone capable of handling more. Look at the greats. Athletes like Kobe Bryant, entrepreneurs like Elon Musk, leaders like Eric Thomas himself. They all had excuses available to them. They could have said, I'm too tired. I'm too broke. It's too risky. But they did. They outworked those thoughts. They trained longer, studied harder, sacrificed more. That's why they reached heights others only talk about. The difference isn't ability, it's endurance. The willingness to do what others won't. Winners don't wait for motivation. They work through exhaustion, fear, and doubt. Because they know success is rented and the rent is due every day. Outworking excuses isn't glamorous. It's waking up when the world is asleep. It's missing out on parties, comfort, and easy pleasures because your focus is somewhere bigger. It's hearing no 100 times, but still showing up for the 101st. It's failing, adjusting, and trying again. It's not about perfection. It's about persistence. Excuses make people chase instant gratification. Winners chase long-term fulfillment. They're willing to be uncomfortable now so they can live free later. Every extra hour they put in compounds over time. Every time they say, I'll do it anyway, they separate themselves from the app. You can always tell, serious by the way they handle obstacles. Excuse makers see problems as stop signs. Winners see them as detours. When something blocks their path, they don't quit. They find another route. That mindset is what transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary success. Because when you stop giving energy to excuses, you start giving energy to solutions. You stop thinking about what's missing and start focusing on what's possible. You stop saying if only and start saying let's go. That's when everything changes. Winners also hold themselves accountable. They don't wait for someone else to push them. They don't need applause, approval, or recognition to keep going. Their standard is internal. They measure themselves not against others, but against their own potential. That's why excuses don't stand a chance around them. An excuse to a winner is like poison. They feel it and immediately reject it. They know the moment they justify mediocrity, they lose momentum. So they stay honest with themselves, even when it hurts. They call themselves out when they slack. They remind themselves why they started, and they get back to work. Consistency builds momentum. That's one of the deepest truths about success that most people overlook because they're obsessed with results. Everybody wants to be great. Everybody wants to win. But few are willing to show up every single day, especially when the excitement fades and the progress seems invisible. Consistency is not about doing something once with passion. It's about doing it repeatedly with purpose. You can't expect growth if your effort depends on your mood. Winners understand that consistency is the foundation of momentum, and momentum is what turns small actions into unstoppable progress. When you start something new, it's hard. The results don't come right away. You might work for days, weeks, or even months without seeing a breakthrough. That's where most people quit. They think their effort isn't working because they can't see the fruits yet. But that's not how success works. The first stage of growth is always invisible. Every rep, every late night, every small decision to keep going is building something beneath the surface. It's like planting a seed. You don't see anything for a while, but roots are forming. Consistency is the water that helps those roots grow strong enough to handle the weight of the success that's coming. Momentum doesn't come from one big action, it comes from hundreds of small ones. It's the compound effect of discipline. The more consistent you are, the easier it becomes to keep going. Every time you show up, you're strengthening your focus and training your mind to push through resistance. It's not about being perfect every day, it's about refusing to stop. When you build the habit of consistency, your body and mind begin to operate differently. You stop negotiating with yourself and your default setting becomes action. That's when you start to notice change, not because of luck, but because of loyalty to the process. Most people underestimate how powerful momentum really is. Once you have it, it feels like the world starts to move with you. Doors open, opportunities appear, confidence grows. But the price of that momentum is consistency. You can't build momentum if you keep starting and stopping. Every time you quit, you reset your progress. Every time you get lazy, you lose the rhythm you worked so hard to create. It's like pushing a heavy rock uphill. At first, it's hard. It barely moves. But once it starts rolling, it gains speed and power. That's what happens with your habits, your mindset, your results. The beginning takes the most energy, but once you build momentum, success becomes a natural outcome. Consistency isn't about intensity, it's about commitment. You don't have to give 100% effort one day and then burn out for the next 5. It's better to give 70% every single day than to go all out for a week and disappear for a month. Winners understand this. They don't rely on bursts of motivation. Don't rely on bursts of motivation. They build systems and routines that keep them moving forward even when motivation disappears. They understand that showing up when they don't feel like it matters most because that's where real growth happens. Consistency is what transforms discipline into identity. It stops being something you do and starts being who you are. Life rewards the consistent, not the occasional. You can't expect to see change if your effort is temporary. You can't expect to master a skill if you only practice when it's convenient. Consistency is about trust. Trusting that the process will pay off, even when it feels like it's not. It's about doing the work today so that your future self can benefit tomorrow. Every small step you take adds up, even when it seems insignificant. The people who win aren't necessarily the smartest or the most talented. They're the ones who stay consistent long enough for their momentum to carry them through. When you build consistency, you also build confidence. Every day you keep your promise to yourself. You strengthen your self-belief. You start proving to yourself that you're dependable, that you follow through. That internal confidence becomes your power source. You don't rely on outside validation because you know who you are and what you can do. And that confidence fuels more consistency. It becomes a cycle of growth. The opposite is also true. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you weaken that trust. You start doubting your own word, and doubt kills momentum. That's why discipline and self-belief are connected. You can't have one without the other. Consistency also teaches patience. In a world addicted to instant gratification, patience is rare. People want results now, and when they don't get them, they give up. But winners understand that real success takes time. They respect the grind because they know what's coming. They've trained their minds to fall in love with the process, not just the outcome. They understand that every day they show up, they're depositing something into their future. Excuses create limits. Energy breaks them. Every time you make an excuse, you build a wall around yourself. You might not see it at first, but each excuse adds another brick until you're trapped behind a barrier of your own creation. Excuses sound harmless. They sound reasonable even, but they silently rob you of your potential. They tell you that where you are is good enough, that trying harder won't make a difference, that your circumstances are to blame. The truth is, excuses aren't made of facts. They're made of fear. They're built from doubt, insecurity, and the comfort of not having to risk failure. But when you replace excuses with energy, everything changes. Energy doesn't ask for permission. It pushes past barriers. It doesn't accept limits. It challenges them. Every person who has achieved greatness has faced limits. They face rejection, pain, lack of resources, and moments of uncertainty. The difference between them and everyone else isn't that their journey was easier. It's that they chose energy instead of excuses. They decided that no matter what obstacles appear, they will move forward. Energy is motion. It's progress. It's belief in action. It doesn't wait for conditions to be perfect. It doesn't care if you're tired or afraid. It just moves. Excuses, on the other hand, freeze you in place. They make you stand still while time passes, while opportunities fade, while others move ahead. And every time you accept an excuse, you strengthen your limits. Excuses are comfortable because they protect your ego. They let you avoid discomfort by convincing yourself that you couldn't have done better. You say, I didn't have time, or I didn't have the support, or I wasn't ready. Those phrases sound safe, but they're really just shield. They stop you from facing the truth that maybe you could have done more, that maybe you didn't give your full energy. Winners don't hide behind excuses because they're not afraid of accountability. They rather face failure than fake effort. They understand that the only real limit is the one you accept. When you choose energy, you destroy those limits. You stop saying, I can't, and start asking, how can I? That small shift changes everything. It opens your mind to possibilities instead of problems. Energy gives you creativity, persistence, and resilience. It pushes you to find a way even when one doesn't exist yet. Excuses say, there's no way. Energy said, watch me make one. Every time you act with energy, you chip away at the walls that used to hold you back. Over time, those walls fall, and you realize they were never real in the first place. They were built from excuses, not truth. Excuses don't just limit your actions, they limit your identity. The more you use them, the more you start to believe them. You start to see yourself as someone who just isn't lucky or wasn't meant for more. That mindset becomes a cage. Energy is the key that unlocks it. When you bring energy to your life, you start to see possibilities again. You realize that your limits are not fixed. They're flexible. You can grow stronger, smarter, and more capable with effort. Energy feeds that growth. It doesn't ask whether you're ready. It makes you ready through motion. Think about every time you've broken through a challenge. Maybe you were exhausted but kept pushing, or scared but did anyway. In those moments, energy took over. You stopped thinking and started doing. That's the power of energy. It silences excuses. It doesn't need approval or guarantees. It thrives in uncertainty. Excuses are fueled by fear. Energy is fueled by faith. When you act with energy, you start attracting results. You begin to see progress, and progress gives you more energy. It's a cycle that builds you up instead of breaking you down. People often underestimate how much energy they actually have because they waste it on excuses. Every time you complain, justify, or delay, you're spending energy on defending your limits instead of expanding them. What if you redirected that same energy toward action, toward learning, improving, or trying again? You realize you always had what it takes. You were just using your energy in the wrong direction. The same power that builds excuses can build empire if you channel it right. Excuses keep you small. Energy makes you expand. Excuses make you talk about what could have been.